This has been a thing all season. This is if you go to just about every single game they lose, the other team has an extraordinary quarter, half game from three, and they look like, me from the 3-point line. And at the same time, it's never a contest of both teams being hot from three. It's one or the other, one extreme, crazy extreme. You have one team shoot like 80% in the half from three, and the Celtics couldn't, but they make 1 3 the whole half or something like that. There's your game. It's the 3-point line has always been the barometer for this team. When they win and when they lose, majority of the time they make them, and the times they don't, this is what it looks like. It doesn't matter who the opponent is. This is exactly what it looks like, and it was the same as Game 2 in Miami, and as it is tonight. So this is what you expect from a team when they get in situations like that.
So I completely agree. This is what I had for notes. We watching it, and I'm like, all right, well, what are we going to do for this show? And the immediate reaction I'll give you on Twitter tonight: Tatum's a front runner. Tatum is so soft, etc. I actually don't even look at Tatum. Like, did he have some struggles, and has he struggled throughout the playoffs? Yes, but he gave you 25 points tonight when nobody could score at all. And just to piggyback on that, Jaylen Brown gave you 19. So, like, these guys, although they weren't great, they are the guys that have been consistent all playoff long. It was everybody else that couldn't knock down their shots tonight, including Derek White.
Yeah, and the one thing you got to give Tatum credit for, okay, the threes aren't falling tonight. Let me go to the line. He went to the free throw line a ton. He was putting guys in foul trouble left and right. The only problem is once he got guys in foul trouble, the replacements were coming in and getting the job done. Tristan Thompson in the third quarter was huge. Offensive rebounds, keeping the ball alive, drawing fouls. He just being energetic. So, yeah, it's easy to point the finger at Tatum, but this is what you wanted. This is what y'all wanted. I wanted, even though they were winning by 25 and Tatum was getting 19, you were upset. Now Tatum has a big night, but they lose, and now he's bad. Now he's a front runner. Now he needs to be better. Wasn't it a lot better when he was dialing it down a little bit, but yet you were up 20? Didn't that feel better? But now that he's aggressive, he's got his numbers. He has a Luka-like game where he's got his numbers, but then they lose. Now he's a problem. He did what he was supposed to do. The only problem is you had a Cavs team, well, mainly two guys. It was Garland and Mitchell. They went on a stretch where it looked like, dating myself, it looked like playing double dribble on Nintendo. Mm-hmm. You could just hear it, boo, and it was just everything was going in. I mean, you had shots at the buzzer. You had bank threes going in and 1-3s going in. Everything worked. And when that happens, it doesn't matter what everybody else is doing. When the team hits threes like that, you can't beat them in this league. And that's what the Cavs did. But I'm not looking at this game and be like, you know what? They lost tonight because Jayson Tatum had 25 instead of 30. He would have had 40 and they still would have lost this game. Yeah. That's how bad it was.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you.
It was everything else. And like you mentioned again, when you closed the broadcast out, all those other guys did not score a bucket in the second half. Come on. You're not beating anybody when your starters as a team go cold like that.
Yeah. So again, I'm not a Tatum defender. I'm not one of these guys where I'll come out and say, man, he was soft. I don't feel that way at all. I actually feel like early on he wanted to take charge of the game. They went on a little run with him. Late in that first quarter, I'll say he might have forced a few, even second quarter. He started to force it a little bit. So if I'm going to be critical about Tatum, that's why I'll be critical. But no one else was knocking down shots at the time. I remember watching Hauser missed a shot. Derek White was struggling early on. Even Peyton Pritchard off the bench. There was a time everybody went cold. So in his defense, I think he was trying to get it going because he was hot early on. But really, I just look at it. This game was tied at halftime. They were tied at halftime. And where things changed, Cerrone, we've been giving them credit for their defense. They've been holding teams under 95 points and blowing teams out by 20 plus. So I think tonight Bickerstaff made an adjustment. I wouldn't say it worked, but he made some adjustments tonight. I don't think the Celtics were ready for. And every time they missed a shot, they made them pay for it. It was like every missed shot was a turnover tonight. The defense fell off big time.
Yeah, they did, but to me it goes back to shot making. And when the team is hitting threes like that, you for one, it spaces the floor up, so you're so worried about them now because they're so hot. So you overplaying the threes. Now you get Levert getting those little backdoor layups. You saw Strus get a couple little layups, and kind of killed runs where the Celtics would look like they were cutting it back under double digits. You saw Garland get a little layup. Mitchell got a couple layups in transition, when they were overplaying threes. The 3-point shooting, it kills everything. The Celtics can't run because they're making shots. Same as that Miami game. When they're hitting their threes, it allows them to get back down and set their defense up. When they're missing those long threes, the Celtics get out, run, transition. You get dunks, layups, crowd gets involved, and that's how you get blown out. And that's what happened on the other end. The Celtics were missing theirs. Cavs get a rebound, 2 quick passes up, layup, over and over again. And it's about making shots. And I was just looking at this. Brown, White, Holiday, Pritchard, 2 for 20 from 3. 2 for 20. I don't know. To be honest, they should have lost by 40 when you have that kind of shooting, when you're making yours on the other end. But they were 2 for 20 from 3. They got to the foul line. They did everything else. They didn't turn the ball over much. I think they only had 6 or 7 of them. But it came down to making shots. They missed open threes, and the Cavs were hitting banks while they were being double teamed at the top of the key, which was crazy to me. But they made everything in that basically that third quarter, and that was the difference in this game. Same as the Heat game too.
All right, let's line up the phones here. It's 617-779-0985. This is one that I really got to look at here. Yeah, Derek White had a tough night. We'll get into that in a little bit. We just mentioned briefly the defense. Just looking at the points in the paint tonight, Evan Mobley got called out by somebody nationally. I forget who it was before the game, just saying he needs to play tougher. I'll find it out before we get out of here tonight. I thought Mobley, remember I kind of looked in game 1, I was like, yeah, they were kind of junk points at the end. He had 17 and 11. Well, if you look at it tonight, 21 and 10, they dominated inside the paint tonight, and I just looked it up. In the first half, they went 15 of 20 inside the paint. It was Mobley and Levert in the first half, and in the second half, it was Donovan Mitchell getting inside the paint.
Yeah, and Mobley, he would have had more, but he wouldn't foul trouble. He had 19 at halftime. He got a 2. I think he had a dunk, alley-oop dunk he caught in the third quarter. But then Cornette put him in foul trouble with those, a couple good plays on the other end. But if it wasn't for the foul trouble, he would have easily had a 30-point night. He was finding his spots. They were looking for him, but they just had one of those nights where everything they threw up was going in. I mean, they were making some crazy layups, crazy mid-range shots. Garland looked like he hit a 3 when he was limping. He was kind of struggling to get up court, and he hits a 3 anyway. And they were making everything. And every shot they made seemed like it was a momentum killer. Celtics would go, they hit a couple shots. You saw Tatum and Brown go back-to-back and ones, and then they come down and hit a bank 3. It was just that kind of night where you're like, there's nothing we can do. And I think once they got to that point, that's when the defense really let up, and they knew the writing was on the wall, and the energy kind of fell out of the room, and that was all she wrote. But it was shot making tonight. One team made everything, and the Celtics couldn't hit open 3. Derek White and Jaylen Brown had a ton of open corner 3s in the second half. They couldn't hit anything, and that was the difference in the game.
Yeah, I want to credit Donovan Mitchell in Cleveland for winning a game tonight. So when I say this, I'm not disrespecting them, but the Celtics, I think, just beat themselves once again. I do want to give Mitchell credit, but the way you mentioned the open shots there, Cerrone, they had so many. It wasn't like Cleveland was playing some lights out defense or anything like that. It was almost like they were begging them to shoot it because they were missing it so bad. And it seemed like they had somebody in transition when the ball was up in the air to try to get back. I mean, that's the defense and missing shots. I think that was really just the story tonight.
Yeah, it was. And Mitchell, was hot as he was tonight, he still had less points than he did in game one. Amazingly, he still had less than he did in game one. And the difference was everybody else, Levert, when he had 4 points game one, goes for 20 tonight. Garland was a missing man. He goes 5 for 6 from three. Mobley, missing guy. I mean, he got a bunch of garbage points, but most of the game he was a non-factor. Flips it around. Today he's out there looking like Tim Duncan. Everybody had it going. Everybody was hitting shots. Everything worked. And again, like we said the other day, if Donovan Mitchell doesn't go down, miss 25 games, whatever it is, this still is a 50-win team. They're a good team. They're going to find a way to win games. They're going to find a way to have their nights where they hit shots. But it goes to show, again, like Miami, in order to beat this Celtics team, you have to do something extraordinary, almost something you don't do or haven't done all season or in your franchise history like Miami did. And the extraordinary thing they did, they came out in the third quarter and hit 80% of their three-pointers, while the Celtics missed all of them, went 0 for 10 or whatever it was in the third quarter. You have to, a crazy anomaly like that has to happen for you to beat the Celtics. And if you don't believe me, while you're listening to us tonight, just pull your phone up and look at the Celtics schedule and results, Basketball Reference, and hit box score in all the games they lost. You would see the Celtics 8 for 50 from three, 7 for 38, shooting under 30% from three, while the other team has a Dean Wade score 20 points in the fourth quarter, a guy that doesn't even play. Or you see the Celtics miss 43 pointers in Golden State. Every single loss, you can look in the box scores and see that the Celtics had a crazy night where they didn't hit anything, and the other team had a player or a team do something they didn't do all season. That's what it takes to beat the Celtics team, and that's what happened again tonight.
So there's tons of calls lined up. We'll get to you guys. We don't have a commercial break until about 10:15, so we got about 20 minutes to go. I just wanted to read this off. I think this would be good for our social tonight here. I'm just reading the chat on our YouTube, okay? And here we go. You ready for this? Tatum chokes. It always has been a Duke thing. The Celtics will still win this series, but this is just more proof that Tatum is Carmelo Anthony. They just give up when they can't get what they want. They're a one-trick pony. They're very soft. Tatum's body language is some of the worst I've ever seen. Nobody played well tonight. What else do we see here? It's basically just Tatum soft, this and that about Jayson Tatum. And I can't do this show tonight and actually stare at him and say that's the reason why they lost. Now, the best player, when you lose a game like tonight, certainly deserves criticism, and the way he's played all playoff, there's some things to be critical about. But tonight, to point to him as the reason why they lost, I'm not having that one tonight, Cerrone. Sorry.